The great exodus, the blue marble of Earth shrank in the viewport as June Park watched it fade into the blackness of space. He pressed his palm against the cold glass, taking in his final glimpse of humanity's birthplace. As the last human to leave Earth in 2189, his shoulders carried the weight of an entire species' history. "Captain, final system check complete," said his second-in-command. "All generation ships report green status." June nodded, his eyes never leaving the shrinking planet. 3 billion years of evolution, 10,000 years of civilization, and now we abandon it all. But they had no choice. Earth had given them everything she could. The climate wars of the 2080s had devastated the ecosystems. The methane bursts from the melting permafrost had accelerated warming beyond any model's prediction. When the eastern seaboard of North America disappeared under rising oceans in a single summer, humanity finally understood the gravity of their situation. "It's not abandonment," said Dr. Lee, the chief biologist, joining him at the viewport. Her eyes reflected the same mixture of grief and determination. "We're giving Earth time to heal." The plan had come together over decades. 12 massive generation ships, each carrying nearly 1 million people, would scatter to different star systems, not as refugees begging for shelter, but as explorers with the determination and technology to forge new homes among the stars. June remembered the lottery system that had determined who would go and who would stay, the riots that followed, the heartbreaking decisions as families were split up. His own parents had given up their spots so he and his sister could escape. "Final ship is clear of orbital path," announced the navigation officer. June took a deep breath. It was time. He turned from the viewport and crossed to the central console. The crew watched in silence as he removed a small device from his pocket, the quantum beacon. "Let the record show," he said formally, his voice steady despite the emotion clouding his thoughts, "that on this day, humanity does not abandon Earth. We entrust it to time for healing, with a solemn oath to return." He activated the beacon. A soft blue light pulsed at its center as it connected to the network of preservation systems they'd left behind on the planet. Automated facilities would continue working to clean the atmosphere. Seed vaults would slowly release native species as conditions improved. And deep beneath what was once Seoul, a quantum computer would monitor everything, waiting patiently for humanity's return. "Ship's log update," continued June. "The Park Protocol is now active on all vessels. We adapt to new worlds, but we remain human. We survive, but we remember Earth." The massive engines of the flagship Horizon hummed with increasing power. Around them, 11 other generation ships moved into formation for the long journey ahead. Each vessel contained everything humanity would need: genetic samples of Earth's biodiversity, libraries of human knowledge, advanced terraforming technology, and most importantly, the stubborn will to survive that had defined humans since they first looked up at the stars. "Course plotted for Proxima Centauri system," reported the navigator. "Estimated arrival in 86 years, Captain." June looked around at his crew, the best minds Earth had produced in its final days. Many of them would not live to see their new home. Their children, or perhaps their grandchildren, would be the ones to set foot on alien soil. Yet they all served with purpose, knowing they were the bridge between humanity's past and its future. "Well," said June, straightening his shoulders, "we've got work to do." As Earth became just another point of light among countless stars, the 12 ships accelerated toward their different destinations. On board, people settled into new routines. In hydroponics bays, the first crops were already sprouting. In education centers, children learned about the world they would never see, except in pictures. In research labs, scientists continued working on ways to help humans adapt to whatever new worlds awaited them. That night, after his shift ended, June sat alone in his quarters, looking at an old photograph, his family standing before the Han River back when Seoul still existed above the waterline. He placed it carefully in a small wooden box, alongside a vial of earth soil and a pressed flower. These simple treasures would be passed down through generations, keeping the memory of Earth alive. "Not goodbye," he whispered to the invisible Earth, now millions of kilometers behind them. "Just until we meet again." Outside his window, the endless void waited. Ahead lay uncertainty, hardship, and the greatest adventure humanity had ever undertaken. But as June finally drifted to sleep, he was comforted by one thought. Someday, someone carrying his blood would stand on Earth again. The planet would heal, humanity would return. It wasn't just hope. It was a promise written in the stars. The galactic diaspora. 300 years after leaving Earth, humanity no longer resembled the desperate refugees who had fled their dying planet. Across 27 worlds in 17. Star systems humans had not just survived, they had thrived. On the rocky plains of Proxima Centauri b, the first colony ship had landed with barely functioning systems and dwindling supplies. The colonists named their settlement New Sol, building their first shelters from the ship's outer hull. When toxic dust storms threatened to wipe them out that first year, they dug deep into the planet's crust, creating underground cities that glowed with artificial sunlight. By the 5th generation, New Sol had become a sprawling subterranean metropolis, home to over 3 million people. "Grandfather would never believe this," said Tay, a young engineer, as he stood on an observation platform overlooking the vast central cavern. Sunlight redirected through massive mirror arrays filled the space with warm light, illuminating hanging gardens and towering structures carved directly from stone. Tai's friend Minji nodded beside him. "My great-grandmother's diary talks about how they ate protein paste for the first decade. Now look." She gestured to the bustling market below, where vendors sold fruits and vegetables grown in hydroponics bays alongside meats from animals genetically adapted to their new home. At the same time, 4 light-years away, the colony on HD 189733b faced different challenges. The planet's methane seas had initially seemed uninhabitable until Dr. Jin's breakthrough with breathing filters allowed humans to process the alien atmosphere. Now, floating cities drifted across vast turquoise oceans, harvesting energy from constant lightning storms that illuminated the violet skies. Every colony had its own story of adaptation and triumph. On the high-gravity world of Kepler 186f, humans developed denser muscle tissue and shorter, stockier builds over generations. In the dim light of TRAPPIST-1e, their eyes gradually became larger and more sensitive. Yet despite these adaptations, they remained fundamentally human. The Park Protocol ensured that genetic modifications preserved their humanity while allowing them to survive. Communication between these scattered worlds remained limited to automated quantum data bursts, brief packages of scientific discoveries, cultural developments, and news exchanged every few years. Each world developed its own culture, its own traditions, its own path forward, but they all maintained one common ritual, the Earth Memorial, held on the day their ancestors had departed their home planet. During one such memorial on the colony, world of Tau Tetiyi, the settlement's oldest resident, Grandmaster Sun, addressed a gathering of thousands. "I am the last person in our colony to have spoken with someone who saw Earth with their own eyes," he said, his voice amplified through the open-air amphitheater. "My grandmother was 6 years old when the Exodus began. She remembered blue oceans and green forests. She remembered birds in the sky. These memories I pass to you as you will pass them to your children. We adapt, we change, but we remember." The gathered crowd touched their right hands to their hearts, the traditional gesture honoring Earth. Many wore small vials containing specks of Earth soil, handed down as precious heirlooms through generations. What none of the human colonies expected was that they weren't alone in the galaxy. The encounter came without warning. On a routine resource expedition to the outer reaches of the Tau Ceti system, a mining vessel detected an artificial signal. Hours later, they made visual contact with a ship unlike anything humans had built. Curved like a massive shell, gliding through space with technologies that defied human understanding. "Unknown vessel, we come in peace," transmitted Captain Yuna, fighting to keep her voice calm as her crew stared at the view screen in stunned silence. After tense hours of mathematical exchanges establishing a communication baseline, the aliens identified themselves as the Narvali Confederacy, a collective of 3 species who had achieved interstellar travel centuries before. They had never encountered humans before. Word spread rapidly through the human colonies. They were not alone in the universe. More importantly, they weren't helpless newcomers to the galactic stage. While humans had been struggling to survive on harsh worlds, they had developed technologies that even the Narvali found impressive. Advanced terraforming methods, efficient energy systems, and genetic adaptation techniques. When Narvali representatives visited the underground cities of New Sol, they expressed amazement at how humans had transformed an uninhabitable wasteland into a thriving civilization. When they toured the floating metropolises of HD 189733b, they marveled at human ingenuity. And when they learned about Earth, about how humans had scattered across the stars rather than fight over their dying world, they spread the story throughout their confederacy. "You are remarkable creatures," a Narvali diplomat told Governor Juan during formal first contact proceedings. Its translucent appendages shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, expressing what humans would later learn was profound respect. "Most species we've encountered destroyed themselves fighting over resources. You chose a harder path. With first contact established, humanity entered a new era. Trade routes opened between human colonies and Narvali worlds. Cultural exchanges flourished. New technologies were shared, allowing faster travel between the scattered human settlements. But through it all, humans never forgot where they came from. In every colony, children still learned about Earth. In every scientific breakthrough, researchers acknowledged the foundation built by Earth scientists. And in every diplomatic meeting with the Narvali, human representatives spoke of their abandoned homeworld not with shame, but with reverence and a quiet, persistent hope. One day, they would say, we will return to Earth. The Narvali did not understand this attachment to a dead world, but they respected it, sensing that this connection to their origins was central to what made humans who they were, a species defined not by where they lived, but by how far they had come and how much farther they intended to go. The Discovery Commander, Mina Kim, was halfway through her morning coffee when the alert sounded. Soft but insistent, it pulled her attention to the communications panel where an automated message flashed. Anomalous signal detected. "Probably another pulsar," she muttered, setting down her cup on the command deck of the United Human Systems vessel Pathfinder. After 3 weeks patrolling the outer boundary of Tau Ceti, her crew was eager for something interesting to happen, but false alarms were common in this region of space. "Ma'am, you need to see this," said her communications officer, fingers dancing across holographic controls. "The signal, it's using our encryption patterns, old ones." Mina frowned and moved to the main console. "How old?" 300 years, Commander, and it's coming from Sol system." The coffee cup slipped from Mina's hand, shattering on the deck. Nobody moved to clean it up, every eye on the bridge fixed on the signal analysis displaying on the main screen. "That's impossible," Mina whispered. But there it was, the quantum beacon frequency, broadcasting after 3 centuries of silence. From Earth. Within hours, the Pathfinder had altered course, pushing its engines beyond safety protocols. Messages raced ahead through the quantum network to the United Human Systems headquarters on Proxima Centauri b. Emergency councils convened across all 27 colony worlds. Could be a malfunction, warned Admiral Huang during the urgent conference call with colony representatives. Or worse, some kind of trap. But Mina, patched in from the Pathfinder as it hurtled toward Sol system, shook her head. "The signal contains verification codes only Earth systems would have. It's real, sir." The journey to Earth took 9 weeks. As they approached the solar system, Mina hardly slept. None of the crew did. They were about to see the legendary homeworld, the planet most of them had only heard about in stories passed down through generations. "Launching probes," announced the science officer as they entered the outer solar system. "Data incoming." The first images made the bridge crew gasp. Where they expected to find a barren wasteland, the probes showed oceans of deep blue, swirling white clouds, and most stunning of all, green. Vast stretches of forests and grasslands covering continents. "That's impossible," someone whispered. "The climate models gave Earth 500 years minimum to recover." Mina leaned forward, studying the readings with disbelief. Atmosphere composition approaching pre-industrial levels, biodiversity at 60% of historical records and climbing. The planet, it's healing itself. As they moved closer, the mystery deepened. Probe data revealed no human settlements, no cities, no evidence of recolonization. But scattered across the planet were thousands of small installations, automated facilities quietly working to repair the damaged world. "The beacon is broadcasting from this location," said the navigator, highlighting a spot in what had once been Korea. "It's coming from underground." 2 days later, a small team, including Mina, descended to the surface in a shuttle. Stepping onto Earth's soil, they wore protective suits, unsure what they might encounter. They stood in a lush forest where Seoul had once sprawled, massive trees reaching toward the sky, birds calling overhead, small animals scurrying through undergrowth. "The air readings are clean," said the science officer in disbelief. "Cleaner than most colony worlds." Slowly, Mina removed her helmet, taking the first unfiltered breath of Earth air by any human in 3 centuries. It smelled of life, of damp soil and growing things. Following the beacon's signal, they discovered an entrance half hidden by vegetation. Ancient doors, built to last millennia, slid open at their approach. Inside, powered by geothermal energy that had never failed, they found the control center, the heart of Earth's resurrection. "It's Park's protocol," gasped Mina as she studied the facility. Not just for human adaptation. He had a version for Earth, too. The quantum computer had patiently orchestrated the planet's recovery for 300 years. It had directed armies of maintenance robots and drones to plant forests, clean water systems, and gradually restore the atmosphere. It had protected recovering ecosystems and carefully reintroduced species from genetic banks. And now that its work had reached the target parameters, it had activated the beacon, calling humanity home. When Mina sent the confirmation to the colonies, celebrations erupted across 27 worlds. Humanity's lost cradle was not just alive, it was thriving, waiting for its children to return. But the news spread beyond human colonies. Within days, a Narvali diplomatic vessel arrived in Earth orbit. "Commander Kim," the Narvali representative said during their first communication, its translated voice oddly formal. "We express deep interest in this remarkable discovery." Mina felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ancient facility's temperature. "Earth is humanity's homeworld. We've always intended to return." The Narvali's appendages rippled in a gesture she'd learned to recognize as acknowledgement. "We understand the sentimental value. However, under the Orion conventions of interstellar, law abandoned worlds with no continuous habitation for over 1 planetary cycle become open for salvage claim." Mina stared at the communication screen. "Earth was never abandoned. We left restoration systems in place with clear intent to return. Intent without action for 3 centuries may not satisfy legal requirements," the Narvali responded. "The Confederacy has filed a formal claim with the Galactic Congress. Until this matter is resolved, we request that all human vessels withdraw from Sol system." The transmission ended, leaving Mina standing in the ancient control center built by ancestors. Who could never have imagined this scenario? Outside, Earth's restored forests swayed in the wind. Birds called. Life continued, oblivious to the diplomatic crisis unfolding above. "Send an emergency message to Admiral Huang," Mina told her communications officer. "Tell him." She looked around at the room where June Park had once stood, planning not just for humanity's survival among the stars, but for Earth's recovery and their eventual return. "Tell him we're not leaving. Not again." The trial of inheritance, the Grand Chamber. So the Galactic Congress fell silent as Ambassador Jin Han approached the central podium. The curved walls towered 5 stories high, filled with representatives from 17 spacefaring species. Some breathed different atmospheres in specialized environmental suits. Others floated in suspension tanks. All watched with keen interest. As the human took her position, Jin smoothed the front of her formal blue uniform, the color chosen to match Earth's oceans. She was the 4th generation of her family to serve in diplomacy, but never had so much been at stake. Behind her sat the human delegation, governors and representatives from all 27 colony worlds who had traveled for months to attend this historic session. "Esteemed members of the Congress," she began, her voice steady despite the tension, knotting her stomach. "We gather today to address the Narvali Confederacy's salvage claim on the planet Earth, humanity's ancestral home." In the gallery opposite, the Narvali delegation shifted in their hovering platforms. Their lead diplomat, senior arbitrator Vesh, had just finished presenting their case, a meticulous legal argument citing precedents from 8 similar cases where abandoned worlds had been claimed for resource development. "The Confederacy's position relies on the assertion that Earth was abandoned," continued Jin. "That humanity fled a dying world with no intention of return. Their evidence seems compelling. 300 years without human presence, no formal claim registered with the Galactic Registry, no continuous monitoring station as required by Section 47 of the Orion Conventions." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some delegates exchanged knowing glances. The human case appeared weak before it had even begun. However, Jin's voice sharpened. The Narvali argument overlooks one crucial fact. Earth was never abandoned. She activated the holographic display. Above the central floor, a 3-dimensional image of Earth appeared, not the restored, healed planet of the present, but the wounded Earth of 2189, its atmosphere choked with pollutants, its oceans rising, its land masses scarred. This was our world when we left it, not because we wanted to, but because we had to, because our own actions had made it temporarily uninhabitable. Her voice caught slightly. "We did not abandon Earth. We entrusted it to time for healing with a solemn oath to return." Jin nodded to her assistant, who activated the second hologram. A recorded message appeared, a man in an antique uniform standing in what appeared to be a ship's command center. "This is June Park, Final Earth Departure Coordinator recording. This message on the day humanity left our homeworld. Let the record state clearly, we do not abandon Earth. The Park Protocol includes not just human adaptation measures, but planetary restoration systems designed to heal our world. We will return." The recording ended, leaving the chamber in silence. "The Narvali delegation claims we left no monitoring station," Jin continued. "In fact, we left thousands." She brought up new images, the automated facilities scattered across Earth, quietly working for centuries. These systems were not just passive observers, but active healers, programmed to restore Earth to habitability. Senior arbitrator Vesh rose from the Narvali section. "Respectful objection. Even if these facilities existed, the Orion Conventions require registered intent and continuous oversight. No such registration exists in galactic records." Jin nodded calmly. "Because when humanity left Earth, we had not yet encountered the Galactic Congress or learned of its conventions. We were alone, fighting for survival. Our legal structures were internal," she paused, "which brings me to our primary evidence." At her gesture, members of the human delegation rose. Each carried a small ceremonial box. "I call upon Governor Yun of Proxima Colony to present his charter." The elderly governor approached, opening his box to reveal an ancient document. "The founding charter of New Seoul," he announced, his voice wavering with age. "Article 1, Section 1. This colony is established with the understanding that Earth remains our true home. All resources developed, all technologies advanced, shall serve the dual purpose of survival and eventual return." One by one, representatives from each colony presented their charters. All 27 contained nearly identical language, the Earth Return Clause, preserved for 3 centuries across 17 star systems. Every human born on every colony world for 300 years has grown up knowing 2 things, Jin said, as the last charter was presented. That Earth was our first home, and that we would one day return to it. She stepped away from the podium and walked to the center of the chamber, where a small table had been placed. From her pocket, she removed a simple cloth bag. "I offer a final piece of evidence," she said, opening the bag. She poured its contents onto the table. Ordinary soil. "This is Earth soil. Every colony ship carried some when we left. Every human family that could preserved it through generations. We carried Earth with us among the stars because we always intended to return." Jin looked up at the assembled delegates. "The Narvali claim Earth under salvage rights, But one cannot salvage what was never truly lost or abandoned. Earth was not discarded. It was entrusted to time while its children struggled to survive elsewhere. Now we have returned, as we always meant to. The chamber erupted in discussion. Species conferred with their delegations, analyzers processed. Legal precedents, arguments flew back and forth. After hours of debate, the Congress Elder, a member of one of the galaxy's oldest species, called for order. "This case presents unique circumstances," the Elder announced. "Never before has a species demonstrated such clear intent to return spanning multiple generations. The evidence of the colony charters, combined with the active planetary restoration program, creates new legal precedent." Jin held her breath as the Elder continued. "The Congress rules in favor of humanity's claim to Earth. The planet shall be recognized as the sovereign homeworld of the human species, with full rights of return and settlement." The human delegation burst into applause, some openly weeping. 3 centuries of hope vindicated in a single moment, but the Elder raised a hand for silence. However, in recognition of Earth's unique recovery and the unprecedented nature of this case, conditions shall apply. The Galactic Congress will establish a monitoring commission to ensure ethical recolonization with minimal disruption to recovered ecosystems. Earth shall become not merely a human world, but a model for planetary restoration, its methods and success to be shared with all species facing similar challenges. Jin bowed deeply. Humanity accepts these conditions with gratitude. As the formal session ended, the Narvali senior arbitrator approached Jin in the antechamber. Its appendages moved in the pattern she recognized as respectful acknowledgement. "Your species has surprised us yet again, Ambassador Han," it said. "Few would preserve such devotion to a homeworld across centuries and stars." Jin smiled. "Earth is more than a planet to us. It's a promise we made to ourselves, that no matter how far we travel or how much we change, we remember where we came from." The Narvalese translator hummed as it processed a response. "Perhaps that is why you survived when many species would not have. We withdraw our claim with respect and look forward to observing humanity's return to Earth." That night, Jin sent the news to every human colony. The way home was open, the homecoming. The sky above Earth bloomed with lights as the repatriation fleet entered orbit. 50 vessels of varying designs, representing all 27 colony worlds, formed a glittering constellation, visible even in daylight. After 3 centuries of absence, humanity had returned. On the bridge of the flagship Hope, Admiral Zhou looked down at the blue planet with an expression of wonder. At 78, he was among the oldest members of the expedition, chosen to lead this historic mission after 40 years of service in the United Human Systems Fleet. "It's more beautiful than the holograms," he whispered, pressing a hand against the viewport. Beside him stood representatives from each colony, many clutching small containers of their ancestors' Earth soil, brought home at last. Priority Shuttle. "Launches are ready to begin, Admiral," reported his first officer. Yoon nodded. According to the protocols established by the Galactic Congress, the recolonization would proceed carefully. First would come survey teams and scientists to establish base camps at selected sites. Then the Elders, those who had kept Earth's memory alive through generations of exile. Finally, the first permanent settlers, tasked with building communities that balanced human needs with the protection of Earth's recovered ecosystems. "Give the order," said Yoon. "Let's go home." Sue Park watched the descent with hands pressed against her knees to stop them from shaking. As the direct descendant of June Park, she had been given the honor of leading the first team to touch Earth soil. Looking around the shuttle, she saw the same nervous excitement on the faces of the other 11 team members, each representing one of the original Exodus ships. "My great-great-great-grandfather stood on the bridge of the last ship to leave," she said softly to the woman beside her. "He watched Earth disappear, knowing he would never see it again, but he believed someone with his blood would return." The woman, a botanist from the Tau Ceti colonies, nodded. "My family kept a seed, just one from an Earth tree. For 11 generations we preserved it, but never planted it. We were waiting to put it back where it belonged." The shuttle shuddered as it entered the atmosphere. Through the windows they watched clouds rush past, then break open to reveal a vast landscape of green below. They were aiming for what had once been a great city, a place called New York. The automated systems had chosen it as an ideal landing site, with its large central park now grown into a sprawling forest. 30 seconds to touchdown, announced the pilot. Sue closed her eyes and silently recited the names of her ancestors, the unbroken line that connected her to Earth. When the shuttle settled with a gentle bump, she opened her eyes to see sunlight filtering through trees outside the viewport. "We've landed," said the pilot, his voice thick with emotion. "Welcome to Earth." The team followed strict biosafety protocols as they prepared to exit. Although the air was breathable, they wore filtration masks to prevent introducing foreign microbes. Each carried sampling equipment to test soil, water, and air, along with recording devices to document every moment of this historic return. When the hatch opened, they were hit first by the smells: rich soil, growing things, a freshness no colony world had ever achieved despite centuries of terraforming efforts. Then came the sounds: birds calling, leaves rustling, the buzz of insects. And finally, as they stepped onto the ramp, the sight of Earth in all its recovered glory. "Survey Team 1, beginning initial exploration," Sue reported into her communicator, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. "Confirm arrival at target location Central Park, former New York City. Where a metropolis had once stood, nature now reigned. Trees had pushed through concrete, turning skyscrapers into crumbling pillars draped with vines. Wild grasses covered what had been streets. In the distance, deer watched curiously as the strange two-legged creatures returned to a world that had forgotten them. The team spread out, each member following their assigned tasks. Soil samples were collected, air quality monitors hummed. Cameras documented everything. But Sue had a different mission. Following coordinates stored in her family records for 3 centuries, she made her way to what had once been the heart of the park. There, half hidden by vegetation, she found what she was looking for: a small metal plaque, weathered but still legible. It marked the spot where June Park had installed the master control for Earth's restoration system before departing. Kneeling, Sue brushed away leaves and dirt. From her pocket, she took a small device, the activation key passed down through generations of her family. With trembling fingers, she pressed it into the slot beneath the plaque. For a moment nothing happened, then a soft hum began beneath her feet. Lights flickered on in sequence, revealing a hidden door built to withstand centuries of neglect. As it slid open, cool air rushed out from the underground facility. "Phase 1 complete," she whispered. "Beginning Phase 2. Deep below, systems that had waited patiently for this moment came to life. Throughout the solar system, receivers awakened, establishing connections to the vast network of human colonies across 17 star systems. Earth was rejoining humanity's interstellar community. By sunset, 4 more shuttles had landed, bringing scientists, engineers, and elders to the site. They established a temporary base camp at the edge of the forest, careful to disturb as little as possible. Under the watchful eyes of Galactic Congress observers, they began the delicate process of assessing how humans could once again live on Earth without repeating past mistakes. That night, as stars appeared overhead, the team gathered around a small fire, the first human campfire on Earth in 3 centuries. Each person wore their colony's traditional clothing, creating a colorful display of how humanity had diversified during its time among the stars. "I propose a toast," said Elder Zhou. "At 92, the oldest member of the expedition." He raised a cup of water, earth water, drawn from a clear stream nearby. "To those who left, knowing they would never return. To those who remembered, though they had never seen this world. And to those yet to come, who will build new lives here." "To Earth," they responded in unison, drinking deeply. Later, as others slept, Sue sat alone watching the moon rise over the forest. In her hands, she held the container of soil her family had preserved, soil that would now be reunited with the planet it came from. Tomorrow would bring challenges, mapping habitable zones, establishing communication networks, planning the first permanent settlement. But tonight was for reflection. "We kept our promise," she whispered to the ancestors she'd never known. "We came home. Above her, the lights of the orbiting fleet twinkled like new constellations. Within months, thousands would begin the journey to Earth. Within years, the first permanent settlements would take root. And within a generation, children would be born on Earth again, not as the end of a story, but as the beginning of a new chapter in humanity's long journey.